This is Wayne Williams with the Grab Another Gear podcast sessions. Going back into the archives, my journal from 2001, a series of 5 articles that I wrote for Washington CEO magazine. And I hope that these will give you a little bit of an example of the pain and the hurt and also the learnings that come from a time of drastic and critical change like we're going through right now. The title of the first archive is Trials in Telecom. The best day of my working life was the day our company, Telect, Inc., launched its IPO. The worst was the day I announced our first layoff of 259 people. Only 5 months separated the two. When I think of those two events, the months leading up to them and the time since, I feel elation, pain, fear, and gratitude all mixed together. It's been a hard road, filled with days and nights in which my faith was strongly tested. My family, the officer team, co-workers and employees have suffered along with me, which has made it even harder to bear. There's not a single person in our company who has escaped unscathed from the events of last year. I certainly have learned some tough lessons that challenged every business principle I had believed. That relationships matter in banking, that we should just take the order, that the customer is always right, and that we can put our faith in measures, numbers, customers, and plans. Building a dream company. My dad launched Telect 19 years ago, at the dawn of the telephone regulation, as a manufacturer of custom cable assemblies for the telecommunication companies. Just 3 of us, my mother Judy, father Bill, and I, stood in our first warehouse that September in 1982 and dedicated our new business to the Lord, something we do every year. As Telect grew into a company that did $168 million in business in 1999, one thing stayed constant: the values and ethics on which my parents founded. These values, experiences from the past, and my strong faith enabled me to make tough decisions when things started to unravel and make me feel so deeply for those affected by our decisions. The first quarter of 2000, we were right on target for our conservative 20% to 25% growth plan. March was the biggest month ever. We consumed inventory and sold what we could build. It was followed by a very low April because the supply chain started to dry up, but customer demand exploded. At that point, we were still operating on our annual revenue goal of $206 million, up from the $168 million in 1999. During the second quarter of 2000, we saw our sales shoot to an unimaginable level. By July, we had nearly $50 million in backlog, 4 times the normal amount. The supply chain continued to dry up. Lead times for raw materials were pushed out from 6 months to a year. It was a perfect time for the IPO. In April 2000, after almost 18 years as a privately held business, with a consistent profitability and significant growth, I proposed to the shareholders and the board that we pursue an initial public offering so we could acquire companies at higher valuations, expand our portfolio, and allow our customers and employees to participate in the upside potential. On August 30, 2000, Telect filed its IPO. Everyone was excited, including the marketplace. We were a bit of an anomaly. We had been in business for 18 years and had real products, real customers, real revenues, and real profits. And all along, I'd been praying, Lord, show us the way you want us to go. The days between our first pitch to the underwriters and analysts in July and the filing in August were among the most satisfying in my business career. By the day we filed, our spirits were high. Businesses looked good, and the preparation to become a public company had begun. Caught in the telecom mania. At the same time, long-time customers were threatening to take their orders to competitors if we could not fill them fast enough. Large companies like Lucent and Nortel were all hearing the same thing from the end users and were repeating the mantra. To us, this feverish demand translated into endless, or nearly so, prosperity and growth. By the first part of September, we had already reached our annual financial objective of $206 million. We were being compared to our primary competitor, who had consistently beaten expectations. And of course, we didn't want to disappoint the analysts and investors. So we accepted higher growth estimates they offered. Little did we know before starting our roadshow that what we were in for. It was pushed out nearly 1 month because of the concern beginning to build over telecom. Few companies were thinking clearly. and it was hard to confirm the unsettling accounts we were hearing. In fact, we continued to have a stronger backlog than ever. The book-to-bill ratios were positive. Our customers were still screaming for us to get them products. In addition, the distribution channel was playing us against our competition to get products. In most cases, double and triple ordering was hidden behind varying quantity demands from customers and distributors. Additional pressures were placed on us by vendor-financed projects that would have little opportunity to succeed. If one company had done this, it would have been considered a bad business. But every company caught the flu because we were all operating in a desperation mode. Hooked on the high, our business exploding, we couldn't stop to think about the pressure to fill customer orders. In hindsight, I see the warning signs. They were there, but we couldn't reconcile what we were experiencing with the signs of a slowdown. At the end of 2000, Telect had nearly 2,300 employees worldwide, up from the 3 of us in 1982. Today, we have resized our business from a nearly 70% growth to a 50% decline, and our employee number only 1,250. But I'm convinced that while our company may be bruised, we are far from beaten, and Lord willing, we will succeed. This was the first in a 5-part series. I plan to bring you the next one, and it will be titled Communicating the Hard Stuff. Thank you. This is Wayne Williams for Grab Another Gear Sessions podcast, Trials in Telecom, from the archives. Thank you for listening to the Grab Another Gear Sessions. Join me next session for more stories and experiences that may help you overcome your next challenge.